The courthouse records in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, tell of 4 separate deaths between 1837 and 1841. An attorney who fell from his horse on a foggy morning. A banker found drowned in the shallow waters of Mill Creek. A circuit judge who succumbed to sudden illness during harvest season. And a county sheriff discovered at the bottom of his own well. What these records do not reveal is that all 4 men were married to sisters from the same Irish Catholic family, and that each death occurred within 18 months of their respective weddings. The Brennan sisters Bridget, Catherine, Margaret, and Sarah had inherited the largest farm in Lancaster County, and they would kill to keep it whole. The inheritance problem. Brennan family farm stretched across 847 acres of fertile Pennsylvania soil, bordered by Mill Creek to the north and the Lancaster Pike to the south. Patrick Brennan, their father, had arrived from County Cork with nothing but determination and a hatred for English landlords. Over 37 years he built a fortune fields heavy with wheat, barns bursting with cattle, and silos that fed half the county in winter. But in October of 1836, Patrick Brennan died suddenly, leaving no sons. Pennsylvania inheritance law was merciless. His land, the very blood of his life's work, would be divided equally among his 4 daughters. What had once been one of the largest farms in the county risked being carved into worthless fragments, sold off, taxed away, swallowed by a creditor's dot. To the Brennan sisters, this was not simply property. Their father had drilled into them the sacred importance of land. Land is not just dirt and stones, he told them in his thick Irish accent. Land is your blood, your future, your very soul. And so, in the flickering lamplight of their farmhouse kitchen, the sisters began to whisper of survival. Marriage, they knew, was the usual path for women without sons. But marriage would scatter them, tie them to other families, and shatter the bond of the Brennan name. Unless, of course, marriage could serve their own design. Bridget, the eldest, spoke first. Whatever it takes, we stay together. We keep the farm whole, Margaret. Ever practical, replied. But the law says otherwise. Catherine, who had inherited their father's gift for reading people, leaned closer. The law, she said softly, can be influenced. It was Sarah, the youngest, whose words sealed their fate. Men die, sisters. Husbands die. And widows inherit everything. The plan began with Bridget, who married Thomas Hennessy, Lancaster County's most prominent attorney. He was a widower, wealthy, and most importantly able to secure the family's land in a legal trust. The wedding in December of 1837 was grand. Neighbors saw it as the Brennan sisters' salvation. Hennessy moved into the farmhouse, his money paying the debts and taxes that threatened to consume the estate. But Thomas Hennessy underestimated his new wife. Within weeks, he realized Bridget's loyalty lay not with him, but with her sisters. When he suggested privacy for their marriage, she coldly refused. My sisters are my blood, Thomas. They stay. By March of 1838, their conflict deepened. Hennessy had been offered a position in Philadelphia, a chance to expand his career beyond Lancaster. Bridget's answer was chilling. You don't understand. We don't leave. We don't separate, ever. That morning, Hennessy mounted his horse in a heavy fog. By midday, his body was found on the roadside, his neck broken, his chest crushed. Officially, it was a tragic accident, but whispers began almost at once. The horse had returned alone, wild-eyed and trembling. And Bridget's grief, though convincing, seemed focused more on wills, deeds, and signatures than on the man she had buried. The following year, Catherine wed John McAllister, a respected banker. His wealth promised security. His name brought further influence, yet less than 18 months later, McAllister was found floating face down in Mill Creek. The water was shallow, barely waist deep. The banker's lungs were full, but his shoes and coat were missing. Some suggested drink had been involved. Others suspected robbery, but those who knew Catherine Brennan noticed something darker. She had withdrawn money from his accounts only days before his death. She had spoken of preparing for the future, and when she stood at his graveside, she wept without a tear. In 1840, Margaret, the most beautiful of the sisters, married Judge William Harrow. A man of ambition, he was eager to tie his fortune to Lancaster's wealthiest daughters, Margaret played the perfect wife. But during the harvest season of 1841, the judge fell violently ill. Within days he was dead. The physician called it fever. The neighbors called it Providence. But the old housemaid, who had served the Brennans since childhood, whispered of a bitter smell in the judge's cup and a faint blue tint on his lips. Margaret wore black lace for the rest of the year, her pale face and angelic composure convincing everyone of her innocence. But the land, once again, remained in Brennan hands. By the winter of 1841, only Sarah remained unmarried. She was the youngest, the most charming, the sister with the voice that could melt stone. She wed Sheriff Daniel Croft, a stern man who had long watched the Brennan family with suspicion. If Croft believed marriage would give him control of the estate, he was mistaken. Less than a year later, his body was discovered at the bottom of his own well. The fall had broken his skull, though his hands showed scratches as if he had tried desperately to climb out. The sisters insisted it was a tragic accident. Croft must have slipped while inspecting the water. But the townsfolk, already unsettled by 3 previous deaths, grew uneasy. 4 husbands, 4 graves, 4 widows, each living together in the stone farmhouse, their black dresses gleaming in the candlelight, their faces pale and unreadable. Rumors spread across Lancaster County. Some called the Brennan women cursed. Others whispered of poison, of secrets buried deeper than any well, but the law could prove nothing. Each death carried the mark of chance, misfortune, or illness. And with every loss, the sisters grew stronger. By 1842, the Brennan estate was larger than ever. The trust, carefully managed, kept the land whole. The 4 sisters were seen as models of resilience, widows who had endured unimaginable tragedy yet refused to abandon one another. They grew old in that farmhouse, never remarrying, never separating, their black dresses fading into memory. Today, the records in Lancaster's courthouse list only accidents and illnesses. No charges, no trials, but the locals still tell the story. They say the Brennan sisters walk the halls of the old stone house at night, whispering their pact. We stay together, whatever it takes. Some claim that on foggy mornings along Mill Creek, you can see the outline of a riderless horse. Others swear that the well where Sheriff Croft died still bubbles, as if disturbed from below. But the most chilling reminder is the land itself. 847 acres, unbroken, untouched, still carrying the Brennan name long after their deaths. The sisters won. Their legacy is not only written in soil and stone, but also in silence, the silence of 4 graves and the silence of history itself, which records only what it can prove. The rest lingers in whispers, in shadows, and in the dark legend of Lancaster County.